The momentous event is the launch of a book titled, According to the President, Lessons from a Presidential Spokesman's Experience, authored by Garba Shehu, a senior special assistant on media to former President Muhammadu Buhari. And a salvo of shots rang out especially from the former Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, who claimed that President Bola Tinubu and his Action Congress of Nigeria and ACN wing of the All Progressives Congress did not contribute so much to former President Muhammadu Buhari's election victory in 2015. He says the merger of the CPC, ACN, AMPP, and APGA only produced 3 million votes to complement Buhari's existing 12 million votes that he had previously banked in the North, totaling 15 million votes.
When you sum out the total votes that gave us the presidency in 2015, the aggregate of the total votes were 15.4 million votes. So basically, what we brought to the table, the other parties that were in the merger, in addition to Buhari's 12.2 million votes, were 3.2 million votes.
For former Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, Garba Shehu has written a very important book which details an account of the most serious moments at that time, including how difficult the job of a vice president is in Nigeria.
The job of a vice president is possibly the most difficult in the world. It was His Excellency Umar Ganduje, former chairman of the APC, in his famous work, Deputizing, who humorously describes the conundrum that deputies face. And he once said to me, he said, when you're a deputy or vice, you're in a difficult position. And then he would pause, like a great storyteller that he is, and then say, every action you take is likely to be misinterpreted. Not necessarily by your boss, but by the numerous people around you.
President Bola Tinubu, who is represented here, says Buhari's era reflected an earnest attempt to reposition Nigeria for future resilience.
From the restoration of fiscal discipline to the diversification of the economy, from the development of our critical national infrastructure to the transformation of our rail and road networks, and from the expansion of social investment programs to the repositioning of the agricultural sector, President Buhari's era reflected an earnest attempt to reposition Nigeria to future resilience.
Former military head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, and other leaders eulogized Buhari, saying in his 8 years, the former president tried his best to contain the problems of Nigeria.
As Nigerians, we must wholeheartedly support our armed forces, and as they risk their lives to keep us alive, we must not allow insurgency or insecurity to threaten the corporate existence of our nation.
The chairman of This Day, an Arise News Media Group, Prince Ndoka Obaibana, who was deputy chairman of the occasion, released some of his encounters with Buhari, including an interview with him for Time magazine in 1985.
In 1985, so as I laid out the interview as it was those days, the editor of Time magazine called me. Said, do you think this is not going to be published? I said, yes. They don't do a coup in Nigeria. So that was another momentous day for 25 years of Nigeria. So as with Garba Shehu, we're all witnesses to history. And Garba told the story of his witness statement using the eyes of Buhari today.
And for the author, is also a former president of the Nigeria Guild of Editors. He explains the motivation behind the book project.
As Buhari's agent, I had been sent a number of times to Bola Ahmed Tinubu to find explanations, to find support for some of our communication issues. Because then, and I believe up to today, President Tinubu has this country's biggest media assets, and he has never failed to come to our aid.
To those who have read it, especially Buhari's appointees, Garba Shehu'S book is an important contribution to the Nigerian political literature and a repository of knowledge for public communicators, even as they canvass for more books to be written on Buhari.